Welcome in, curious crafters, to the 1 hour Saturday Spotlight. Today, we'll be highlighting channel name, the CATT Lady Podcast. Do we say it as cat? I daren't. She might scratch me. But any questions seen within the chat at any point, start to finish, will be saved and asked at the end, when Andrea's 1 hour interview with myself is complete. Now, Andrea, please try and ignore the chat as best you can. I'll begin the countdown clock as soon as you're ready and you're up here. When you're ready, give me a thumbs up and we'll get you up. Here she comes. Ta-da! Welcome in, Andrea. Now, I was unsure. It's all in capitals. Do I say cat or do I leave it as the CATT?
It is cat, the cat lady. So
see, I was so waiting for my eyes to go.
But, you know, the CATT does stand for craft all the things, so that's why.
There you go. See, this is why I was unsure. She's so full of talents, this woman. Okay, are you ready for me to start my countdown?
I think so.
She's like, maybe I'll hold on to my seat. It's fine. Okay, here goes. Andrea, how old were you when you first learned this craft?
So hand dyeing, not that long ago, I guess, maybe 5 years-ish.
5 years is a good amount of time. It's not that recent. You're
no,
starting to get a good old.
But it was more of a dabbling here and there. So with like food coloring, so I didn't get into like actual professional acid dyes until probably pretty much a year ago, when I pretty much started the business, is when I started playing with the actual acid dyeing, professional dyeing. So before that, it was food coloring and Kool-Aid, which is a good way to practice, and you can use your own utensils in your kitchen and you don't have to worry about cross-contamination and all that stuff.
So we've got a couple of hints there with what might be to come through these questions. Interesting. Okie dokie. So who taught you this?
Self-taught, the internet. As a lot of crafts, I've learned everything pretty much from the internet.
Is there any particular channel that you went to, or was it just higgledy-piggledy?
I went through a lot, but there is one channel that if you are into hand dyeing, you know this channel, but it's Rebecca from Chemknits, and she's had years and years, and that's all she does. She dyes yarn with all sorts of different yarns, different mediums. So, you know, acid dyes, Kool-Aid dyes, food colorings, all sorts of techniques, and she just does everything, and it's all experimentation. So she's a great resource for anyone who just wants to play around with dyeing or get into professional dyeing. So, and she does lives and she does all sorts of things. So she's a really, really cool channel to check out.
In that case, after this interview has concluded, with all fingers crossed, her name, Rebecca's channel will be down in the description, so you can go and have a little clickety-doo-dah. With regard to all your materials, where do you actually get them all from?
All over the place. I mean, I source my yarns from a few different suppliers. I have a wholesale account, so I need to actually, you know, order large amounts at one time. I get my dyes from Dharma Trading Company, which is, you know, a pretty easy supplier for anyone. I think they might sell yarn there too. You can get berry yarn from Knit Picks, which is a real popular, easy place for, you know, anyone to get yarn. I think actually Rebecca gets a lot of her yarn from Knit Picks. So that's a real easy place to start. But I've had to research a lot of other places and figure out what bases I wanted and, you know, cost, obviously. And again, I have to order 10 pounds minimum to get the wholesale pricing. So I have to order a lot at one time. So it gets pricey if you know, trying to get it's pricey up front, but you're getting the lower price when you do wholesale. Let's see what else. Lots of other supply. I've gotten supplies from, you know, Home Depot. You know, I have very important for hand dyeing when you're using acid dyes is your respirator mask.
The dreaded mask.
So it's totally fine. So
and pink.
Sure, with my yeah, I know they are pink. They're just pink. That's like, so you know, if anyone goes to Home Depot or whatever needs to get a mask, so even your burly construction worker is going to be pink. So whatever this filter is. So.
And that was me thinking you picked it deliberately.
No, I would have though. I totally would have, but yeah, no, you don't have a choice.
So it's pretty much
Restaurant Supply. That's another good place. So to get like big pans and burners. So I use like hot plate kind of burner things. So those are the key ingredients. You need heat, you need the dye, you need the yarn. So
it's a good place to start. Good place to start. Okay. Are there any particular instructions that you follow or have followed from other people, or are you doing it completely free will, freehand? I'm doing it my way. That's it.
No, not really. I mean, obviously there's a generic set of rules that you kind of need to follow to get the dye to adhere to the yarn. So you have to have heat, you have to have acid, which I use citric acid, but you can also use vinegar. And you have to have the dye powder or, food coloring, whatever, some sort of color. And you have to have the yarn. And so you have to get it up to a certain temperature. It has to have the acid in there, and that's the only way that the color will stick to the yarn. So generically, you have to follow those rules. But as far as how you apply the yarn or apply the dye, there's so many different ways, and I've tried a lot of different ways and still trying to figure out exactly what I like. And I guess it depends on what you're going for with your yarn. If you want certain techniques, just create different colors. So
you're still finding your little niche, as it were.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still, I'm always like following other dyers that post video. I love it when people share stuff, and I try to do the same thing on my channel. So if you want to see me dyeing yarn, you can head over to the Cat Lady Podcast channel, and I have videos of me dyeing the yarn. So, and that's not dyeing the yarn. I always have to add, I'm not dyeing, but I'm dyeing. So, but yeah, there's just so many different ways you can do things, and there's so many different ways that people do things, and some ways take a lot longer than others. And I'm always in the back of my mind trying to think of like, how can I streamline this so that when I do get bigger, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when, because I want to grow. When I do get bigger, I want to be able to produce more product in a decent amount of time. So some techniques just take so much time that it's like, how can I make this a little bit quicker or produce more with this method? So if I stick with other methods are a lot faster in terms of just the time that's involved. So, but then like certain colors, just if you want that type of yarn, it just has to take longer. So can't get around it.
It is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So with regard to YouTube, who actually inspired you to start your own channel?
Well, that's kind of funny because she's no longer a YouTuber anymore, and she hasn't for a really, really, really long time. But her name was Annie. I want to say it was Spinning Annie or something like that. I don't even know if she has her channel up anymore, but at the time I had just started getting into podcasts in general. I didn't even really know they existed, especially like the crafty knitting and stuff. And at that point I wasn't dyeing either. I was just knitting. And she was doing a spinning channel. So I like to spin as well. So spin yarn. And she got me interested in trying to start spinning too. So just by having her channel, I didn't interact with her at all. But so then, I started watching all these other podcasts. I know another one was Wisconsin Knits, or Dairyland Knits, I think his name was. And he was a really fun guy. He doesn't podcast anymore either. But, and I know this isn't really a podcast either. I always say podcast. So it's really just a YouTube channel. But anyways,
it still counts.
It is, but it's not. But I don't know. I keep telling myself I need to change that because I'm not really a podcast. I'm a YouTube channel, but whatever. I'm a blogger. I don't know. But as soon as I started watching these, I'm like, wow, this sounds fun. So I just, one day I'm just like, I'm going to do it. And I did it.
Yay.
And it's been almost 6 years now. It'll be 6 years at the end of the month. So
we're in your podiversary month.
Yes, which is cool. But at the same time, I've like the growth is just so slow. Like I don't, it's been 6 years and I only have like 700 something like followers. It's like I haven't even hit 1,000 yet, and it's just like it gets frustrating. But I'm doing it more for me and for fun, and I've made amazing friendships and connections. So
you can't really put a price on that. At the end of the
really
day,
I've made some really, really, really good friends, like what I'd call my best friends. Some of my best friends.
There you go. Who cares about numbers when you've got?
I shouldn't. So I do, but I don't. You do, but you don't. But
yeah, I get it. I get it. Okay, next question. One of your typical, average, whatever you want to call it, projects with the hand dyeing, start to finish. How long does it take?
Okay, so the night before I soak the yarn. So the yarn needs to soak, and it varies on resources and who you talk to on how long it needs to soak, but I always soak mine overnight. So if you start on that clock, you're starting, almost 12, 15 hours earlier to soak the yarn. Mm-hmm. And then to make a batch of yarn, which is typically about 4 skeins per pan, which I have enough to do 3 pans at once, so I could do up to 12 at one time. That's nothing compared to most people, but it works for me for now. It takes probably about, depending on the color, depending on if you're doing something with lots of colors or just one color, it could take anywhere between a half hour to an hour to get the water heated and the colors on and the acid in the water, and then it's got to sit more, and it is time consuming, but a lot of that's downtime of me just waiting. So in the meantime, while something's in the dye pans, I might go wash something if something needs to be washed, or I might mix dye for the next session if I know what colors I'm doing. So that's about an hour maybe, and then it's got to dry. So you got to wash it, rinse it, dry it, and it's got to dry overnight. So you're looking at a day or two total until it's fresh and dry, ready to.
Let's see that up close. Look at her showing her pinky purple.
This is fresh off the rack this morning. So I dyed this yesterday. So I soaked the yarn for this the day before yesterday, dyed it yesterday, and then it dried overnight. So
it's a very nice looking yarn.
Thank you very much. Doesn't have an official colorway. I'm thinking wild raspberry, but it's this one's new. So
I like it. Because it's not overly pink. I like it.
Thank you.
With regard to your dyeing, are you actually known for any particular technique or style or main colouring, or is it just completely down to whoever orders or your mood, the day of the week?
A lot of it, I think, is mood, day of the week, and what techniques I want to try and practice and refine. And since I'm less than a year old, I launched the business in last June. I'm still pretty much every session, I'm trying to come up with different colors, new colors, because I'm trying to build a catalog of essentially repeatable colors. So I take notes. Here's my book. So I take notes of everything, keep it in this book. I have all my little notes. I have if I have samples of the yarn, I try to put them in there.
Oh my gosh, let me bring that up. I love books like that. Let me bring it up. Hang on. There you go. Look, she's got little.
So if I manage to have the pieces, I'll put them in there. Like if I pull it off a tie from a sample or something.
She doesn't do just a little thread. She does a proper little test of it. Love it.
So yeah, which way is going? So yeah.
That's
so I try to keep all the measurements of how much dye I use, how much water I used, just so that I can potentially go back and recreate it. Now, here's the thing with hand-dyed yarn. Okay, you can still keep all these notes and you can do everything, and it still may not turn out exactly the same the next time, because we are not machines. We are people. There's so many factors, like what if I use just a touch more acid this time and it made a difference? What if my scale, I have a little measuring scale. What if it's not 100% accurate, and there was a little more dye powder in? Or if I'm hand sprinkling, obviously it's going to that's never going to be exactly the same. Those sprinkles are never going to fall in the same yarn, in the same place. Even in the same pan, if you're doing things like sprinkling yarn, you know, this skein over here might get a real big chunk, which happens all the time, where the ones over here may not. So, I mean, even in the same pan, you're a similar dye lot, you know, you're in the same batch, but it's each skein is really 100% unique every single time you do it. I can tell you a small failure, not really failure, but I'm dealing with this right now. So these skeins were all in the pan, and you can see, you know, I squished them, I squashed them, I did everything to get the color even, but you know what? It's still not, I still have this weird spot in a couple of them. Now I'm flip-flop. Now, if you reskein this, so if I retwist this back up into another loop that's slightly different, it'll redistribute that spot, right? It'll like put those little white, they're not white, they're light green. You'll put all those little spots throughout the whole skein, and if you knit it up, it's gonna look gorgeous because it's a tonal. And again, it's like, we're not machines, so we can't make 100% solids all the time.
Yeah.
But when you look at this, like as a consumer, you know, like you think maybe, okay, is something wrong with that? What's going on with that spot? So I need to actually probably take this back downstairs and remix some dye stock and then like paint over those spots, just to darken them just a little bit so they're not as obvious. So
I don't know. I quite like
but, you know, I've dyed that color before and it's not been a problem. So this is the same color. It's on a mini skein, so it's on a different yarn. But I mean, I didn't have that problem that time. So something happened in that bath where some of the yarn was kind of squished together, and even as much as I tried to like not have that happen, it still happened. So
at the end of the day, we haven't got ginormous vats that we can kind of go down into.
So, I mean,
whoever buys these things, they're expecting hand dyed, and sometimes little bits like that to prove it. And
that's what I hope. I'm like, so I don't know. I will this time, just because it will bother me if I don't. But it's like, do I really spend all that extra time just to touch those up when in the end of the day, when it knits up, it's not going to matter. But I want, you know, I'm trying to sell my product. I'm trying to sell a good product. And, you know, I don't want people to look at it and say, oh, that looks weird. Even though if I was to retwist it, which I don't have the fancy machinery to retwist it, which that's on my wish list. They make reskeiners where you stick this on like a Swift type thing. And then on the other side is another Swift. And then you push a button and it winds the one side to the other side. Or you have a separate Swift, and it basically takes a Swift to a Swift in some fashion. So it takes the loop and makes it into another loop on a different machine, but with a touch of a button, so that, you know, you can mix it up.
Well, that's a little bit handy. I haven't heard of
that. It would be really nice, but they're like $500 or something.
Yeah, ridiculous. They can stay in the shop for now. They can stay where they are, just for now. Just for now. Regarding your hand dyeing, what do you like most about doing it?
That's hard. It depends on the day. Some days my favorite part is actually doing the physical dyeing. Some days it's, you know, seeing the finished, like pulling the dry skeins off the rack and seeing what they look like dry, because they don't always look the same wet versus dry. Sometimes I'll look them in the pot and they're like, I don't know if I like it, and then it's dry and like, oh my gosh, I love it. So it depends. And sometimes, I guess one of my favorite things is I have what I call a dye dump day, and I make a 9 lives colorway. So obviously I'm cat themed, so all my bases have cat themed names. And so I have a series that I call 9 lives, which is where I take all my leftover dye stocks that I might have lying around. So if I was mixing some stocks and I didn't use them all for a certain project or whatever, I won't throw it away if I don't have to. I will put it in a jar and keep it for later. So then I had the big collection. So I just did actually a dye dump day a couple weeks ago. So I have all these just random dye stocks that I just dump in the pans and just, you know, put the colors together that I think are going to work. And so this was the one that I did, and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to turn out, but I really liked it. So it's very like rusty oranges and teals, and I threw some speckles on there.
Reminds me of autumn leaves.
Yeah, I'm calling it tin roof rusted. This is like rusty roof, I guess. It kind of reminds me of like oxidation a little bit with the greens and the oranges. And yeah, so this is not in the shop yet. It will be in the shop next week. So
that looks like a nice hefty hank as well. How much is in that?
So yarn is confusing. So my skeins are 115 grams, which are a little bit. Oh, okay. Here's the difference too. This is why this looks a little pudgier because it is. Where is another one? This regular one. There we go. So if you see, you can see the difference here in size.
Yeah.
These are the same, different bases, but the same amount. So when I originally ordered the yarn, I was getting it in these smaller circles, I guess. So here's a skein of the yarn. I was getting it. It was probably like this size circle. So, but real thick, you know, because it's the same amount of yarn. They just made it into a smaller circle. So I've been getting those for almost a year now, and then I'm like, this is annoying. They're really, really stumpy, like, and they're hard to twist, and I just don't like it. And when I get my other yarn from a different company, it comes in the longer one. So I emailed them. I said, do you have different sizes? Because this just isn't working for me. I was like this close to like ready to change suppliers. And they're like, oh, sure. You just have to request it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Why didn't I say that?
Thanks for the information. So then I requested the longer ones, and they are longer. And they are much nicer to twist, and they just look nice. I just think they look a little nicer. I mean, this one twisted up okay, actually, but I just like the look of the longer one.
Because the longer one, it looks like you're getting more for it.
Yes, you're not. More for what? But in general, my skeins are 115 grams, which is more than like usually it's 100 grams as an average, but my yardage is 420 yards, so it's a little bit smaller than some of the other 100-gram ones that may come in like a 436 or something along those lines. So it's very weird in general, like yardage versus weight of the yarn, and it drives me crazy on a regular basis. So when either trying to find patterns to work up, and it all depends on your gauge and how you whatnot.
In that case, so many hair, Andrea.
What was that?
In that case, I'm glad you still have hair and you haven't ripped it all out yet.
Oh, well, this part's fake, so if you follow my channel, you'll see my exploration into hair extensions. But no one's seen this one, so this one's new.
Yay, just for us.
But yes, my hair is thin, so probably not from dyeing, but just because I'm old.
I hear you there. Right, I'm going to make you all big for this next question.
Uh-oh.
Don't panic. The amount of times people have said that, and I'm like making them big to show their stuff, and then when I deliberately say I'm going to make you big, they're like, oh, okay.
Well, what's coming? What's coming
up? This next question is less of a question and more of an ask. Okay. Can you please describe what your channel is all about to those who have no idea?
My channel is about everything crafty. So I am the cat lady. I am craft all the things. I knit. I do a little crochet, which I'm still working on. So this is actually my first wearable crochet project I've ever made. So it is a wrap shawl. So it required increasing and decreasing, which was the first time I ever done that with crochet. So I spin, which I have not spun in a while, but I do drop spindle. I do Turkish drop spindle, regular drop spindle. I have a spinning wheel. I do perler beads. I make beaded rings. I do any sort of craft that fancies me. I do diamond dots, that new weird thing that's been around for a while, but you stick the little gem things in the sticky paper.
I love you description.
Any kind of craft thing that comes my way, I want to try it out. So that's kind of how the cat lady started. And I don't know how I thought of that, but I love cats. I have 2 cats, so it just fit. And I'm glad it fit and nobody had taken it. So as far as my brand, I guess. So, but yeah, so I have a lot of fun on my channel. I'm 100% real. I don't edit a bunch. Unless I have
hang on. Wait. I will stop you there. Hang on 1 second.
Sure.
You've just said I'm 100% real.
Except for my hair.
I was going to say less than 2 minutes previous, you said, well, this is fake.
I'm a real person. I guess what I mean by real is I tell it like it is. I'm telling you this is fake hair. I'm not going to hide it. I showed off my hair, you know, all my fun little extensions on my channel. You know, I don't edit everything unless I get up and leave and have to come back. Like I forget things a lot. So I'll be like, oh, I forgot this. And I will, instead of like leaving the video running, of course, I will edit that out. So you're not looking at the background for 10 minutes. And I do that a lot because I forget things a lot. And my camera likes to shut off on me because it only records for 29 minutes and 59 seconds or something. So, and I'll always forget. So guess what? I'll be mid-sentence and it'll shut off. And I turn it back on and I keep going and I just kind of edit that little piece together. My kids interrupt me all the time. It's real life, really. I mean, it's like I'm not producing some kind of fancy, because I'm not, and nothing against those who do, but some podcasts just, I feel like they spend like a week producing. I record in the morning, I get it uploaded by the afternoon. I mean, that's what it is. So when I'm telling you it's Wednesday, March, whatever, it's, you know, as long as YouTube's cooperating and gets it uploaded that day, it's Wednesday, March, whatever, you know? So I record on Thursdays usually, but anyways.
So I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you. Maybe. I'll think about it. Okay. Right. Next question. Why do you feel it is important to continue hand dyeing instead of buying mass produced?
Boy, that's a hard question. Well, obviously buying hand dyed yarn, you're supporting small business, which is always good. I put so much care and, you know, into every skein, and it's unique. It's very unique. You know, I mean, even some of the big box stores have started to sell like hand dyed yarn, but you know, I feel like it just doesn't have the same uniqueness to it that actual independent dyed yarn does. Most dyers that I know, including myself, try to source our yarns, are actively aware of where we're sourcing our yarns, so cruelty-free, museling-free, that kind of thing, so that we know the sheep are treated well. There's nothing wrong with acrylic yarns. I use plenty of them. So, you know, head over to wherever, Joanne, and get your acrylic yarn all day long. I like a good cheap acrylic. I use it all the time for my kids' things and baby gifts. So, I mean, I have nothing against that. But as far as like quality wool yarn, I think indie dyed yarn is definitely the way to go. And you're supporting real people that are, a lot of us are trying to, you know, build a life out of it. I am treating this as a serious business, but I have the luxury of not having to be super successful right away, because I'm not using this to pay my bills. My husband has a really good job, and so he's supporting our household. I don't have to, like, you know, toil away every day to churn out the yarn and sell it super fast, because I have the luxury of, you know, still taking care of the house and my family and doing this on the side, but hopefully growing slowly. I mean, that's kind of my plan. I'd love to be able to like pay for a vacation with the business, or hire a housekeeper to come clean my house for me. Something like that, you know.
To that one
extra. But it's not like I need this to pay my phone bill or anything. So, but there are plenty of dyers out there that do need this income. So, I mean, I definitely encourage everyone to support if they can, which, you know, obviously times are interesting lately. So, and it's been really, really hard for these independent dyers that rely on in-person shows. I haven't had that experience at all either. So, I mean, I've been really lucky that I'm not missing out on anything really.
Well done. At least you've got a nice support network behind you, and it's not desperation and what if it doesn't kick off.
Because there is a lot of that going on, I've seen in the industry. So it's like,
you're lucky.
You're lucky. Very, very lucky.
Enjoy it while it's there. So you've just mentioned a couple of different types of yarn that you work with. Now, whether this next question be about the yarn or something else, that's down to you. But what is your favorite medium to work with?
Well, we'll keep it with the yarn dyeing, because I do have a couple different bases. So my favorite base, which isn't my most popular one because you need, this is what like a yarn that you need to feel in person because it's so soft. It's so soft. It's 100% superwash merino, so nothing new there, but it's 17 micron, which means it is extra soft. So I have my little cheat sheet here. I got an email from the company because I asked. So their typical blend of the micron for the merino is 23.5. So that's your standard. So that would be my regular one, which is really soft. This one's 17, and the smaller the number, the softer the yarn.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-ply, and it just knits up so nice, and it feels so nice on your skin. And so this was done in the 17 micron, and so was this. So they drape really nice, and I love it. But again, it's a little more expensive. So when you go to my website, it's a little more expensive because it costs me more. It's a better quality, obviously. So I mean, I can't say it's not a great seller, but I just don't dye a lot of it because I feel like it doesn't fly off the shelves as much as a standard sock. 80% merino, 20% nylon. That's what this one is. So this is your very, very typical blend. You can make it socks. So I wouldn't use this to make socks because it would probably
be very rich.
Probably fall flat on your face because it's so slippery, and it would probably fall apart over time. So a lot. It's got the nylon in it, which is good.
Right.
That is my favorite base.
I'm going to pause the countdown for the moment. You can take a drink, Andrea.
Okay.
We've got the time. We're now halfway through our interview with Andrea, and I've stopped the timer to address our live audience that are here with us right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Your questions and your compliments are all being saved for Andrea to be told at the end. So please keep them coming in. Anything that you come up with, get it typed out. Let's see it. Please keep them coming in. If you yourself are a crafter or you'd like to nominate somebody, please send me an email. The address is in the description down below, right at the bottom. Andrea, shall we restart the timer and finish the second half?
I'm ready.
In that case, let's go. Have you ever taught others how to do the hand dyeing?
No, I mean, like I've said, I've done videos that kind of like talk about what I'm doing, but as far as like actually physically, like, okay, this is exactly how much I measure out, this is whatever, and no, I've not.
And what has stopped you doing that?
As far as like maybe making video tutorials or
maybe doing it physically.
Obviously, pandemic has meant I don't see anybody ever. So, as far as any in-person learning, that's not going to happen. And I don't know. I feel like I'm still kind of learning myself. So as far as, if anyone approached me and said, hey, can you show me whatever? I certainly would. And actually there has been a friend that her husband started dyeing, and he's asked me a bunch of questions, and I've sent them some videos and links and things and tell them everything I know as well. So, I try to be helpful. I'm definitely a person that's kind of an open book. I'm not here to hide my secrets. If you have questions and if you want to start dyeing yarn and whatever, I'm happy to answer anything that I know. But again, I'm still learning too. So
I like that reason because it's honest. I like it. Well done. Okay. How do you judge a finished piece to see if it's good enough? What makes you stop and go, okay, enough's enough. That's it.
In regards to yarn, I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, as I've talked about this one earlier, I've judged that this one is not enough. It needs to be fixed. Because, it just got that spot in it. That's just going to drive me nuts, even though I know it'll knit up fine, but it's just going to drive me nuts, and I can't leave this house with it. Now, this one, I did the, it's the same process. It's a solid color. So, and this one was fine. So, I mean, I just look at them and after they're dry, 100% dry. You can't judge it when it's still wet. You gotta wait till it's dry, and you twirl it up in this little twirly hank, whatever you want to call it. As long as if I would knit with it, then I will sell it. If I would knit with it, I will sell it.
I want to go and buy a twirly. Sod the hanks now. I like that name.
Yarn twirlies.
Like it. Okay. What would you say so far is your hand dyeing strength?
I've been better at doing monthly updates, so okay. I guess I have a lot of weaknesses. I feel like it's gonna be hard to.
We'll come to the weaknesses. Give us your strengths. Come on, lead.
Boy, I'm not afraid to try different things, new things. Give that as a strength. So even if I'm afraid it's not going to work, I'll still try it. You know, when it comes to blending certain colors together that may not work, maybe I'll do it anyways and see what happens. You can always over dye things, so it's really hard to screw things up.
Yes, I'll put my hand up to that one. Yes. So give me one weakness.
Pre-planning. So I'm already trying to plan like for Advent, because that's what you need to be doing now, and it's really difficult to be pre-planning. Like I should be planning probably for, I don't know, 4th of July already, and it's like which I've so far, I mean it's only March, but you know, in January I came out with my like Valentine stuff. In February I dyed up a bunch of the green stuff, and now I'm just kind of throwing random things together for March. But in general, the pre-planning has been very, very challenging as far as like doing monthly updates and what colors should correlate with what seasons and themes and whatever. Not that it's necessary, but again, like I need to plan my Christmas Advent because it's a lot of work, and you need to put a pre-listing so people can pre-order it, and you need to know how many people are going to order it so you know how much stuff to order. And that's the part that's the business part. The business side of things is just the worst.
It's the boring bit.
Yeah, it's hard too. Some of it's just hard. Shipping costs and all that stuff is just not fun.
Yeah, I get it. Right. Who is your target audience, would you say?
Someone who appreciates hand-dyed yarn, of course. Someone who knows about hand-dyed yarn. Of course, I'm open and willing to send yarn to anyone, of course, that wants yarn. But usually, if you're expecting commercial yarn when you order hand-dyed yarn, sometimes you just don't quite get the nuances. Like I try to photograph everything so far. I have photographed everything. That's like everything you see on the website, that is the yarn that is in stock, unless, there might be pictures of 4, but there's only 3 left type thing. But in general, one of those skeins in the 4 is what you're going to get. So, because I feel like I mentioned before, every skein is unique. So if someone looks at a picture and you put stock photo like us, if I list this again, but keep the same photo, it might look a little different when you get it. And some people don't understand that, even though I put a million disclaimers in the description, but nobody reads either, myself included. I tend to skim through that stuff too. So, I just want a happy customer. So I want someone that is aware that hand-dyed yarn is unique. We're not machines, and it's not commercial yarn. It's its own unique thing, and it's worth the price, because there is a lot of work. It's like, it took 2 days to make this. So, and I want it to be enjoyed. And I want someone who's actually an avid crafter, not necessarily a collector, because I love to see, that's my favorite thing, is to see people actually knit up my yarn and then share it, which, so I've seen a handful of stuff, which is really fun.
I think I'd be exactly the same. I wouldn't want it to just sit on a shelf. I'd want it to be
that's fine too. If you really want to buy it to collect it, I'm not going to refuse your money, but I love seeing it worked up.
Very well said, quickly. Well done.
I mean, I have my own yarn collection of things upstairs, so, I'm guilty, as most of us are.
Are you more of an extrovert or an introvert?
I am, like most crafty people probably say, I'm a extroverted introvert. So once you get me moving and talking, I have fun. I love it. But like getting out there, sometimes it's not as fun. It's not as easy. If I'm in crowds of people I don't know, it's not as easy. But get me in a group of people I know and love, and other crafty people that love to chat about crafts, I won't shut up. So
the verbal diarrhea syndrome. Who would you love to see on your channel leaving a comment for you that you haven't already?
Let's see. So some very prominent crafters in the industry that aren't necessarily.
Give me one.
Okay.
Because they're going to be down below.
Maybe Christy Glass knits. She's just a very prominent. She's not a dyer, but she's very prominent in the knitting community. So it'd be cool if she was put onto my channel at some point, which she probably doesn't know exists. So, but she does follow me on TikTok, but that's because she's only got like a small. It's new. It's still new. TikTok is still new for us. For a lot of fiber people, that's a newer thing, it seems. Which I have a TikTok too, which I haven't put a bunch on there, but I put a few on there.
TikTok's just for 5-year-olds who like dancing. That's all TikTok.
Well, the fiber community is starting to migrate over there a little bit, so I've dipped my toes into the TikTok. I told myself I never would, but I did. So I had a reason, but whatever. Push
that trend, girl. Push it.
Yeah.
So. What holds you back currently from taking the hand dyeing to the next level?
Money.
Straight off. Money.
I mean, honestly, if I could just like blow a bunch of money and get a bunch of supplies and fix my leaky sink, which is on the list to do, and just get the rescanner, get the, big proofing cabinets where you can fit 100 pans in there, that would help. I mean, and then if I could pay for marketing and all this other stuff, it's like money. So right now it's like I tried to sell enough dyed yarn to purchase my next bear yarn order. That's really my ultimate goal. And so far so good. And I have a nice little backstock of bear yarn. I have my, and I want a full shop. I don't want to, I mean, as much as I'd love to sell out like that, I like having a full website, of yarn that's available. So I just want to keep making product, but I need to keep selling it so I can buy more product to make more product. It's just this weird circle.
It's a nice little wheel to be on.
So if I had like unlimited funds to do more, then maybe that would help. I don't know.
It's all down to the moolah.
Yeah.
Name a time when your patience was tested. Now that might be with the hand dyeing, or that might be with your actual YouTube channel.
Always with my YouTube channel, because again, the numbers game is always on my mind. And I try not to, because again, in the end, I really appreciate what has come from it. But I see new podcasts, YouTube channels pop up, and then the numbers just fly off the shelves, and they're not doing anything different. Nothing different. Like, they're not doing anything different. They're not even like editing differently. It's just like the same stuff, talking about knitting. They're not any more personable, less personal than me. I feel like, why? So yes, I've taken a lot of breaks because of that. So I've taken time off of the podcast. I've been very consistent pretty much since the business started, because I feel like now I'm doing it partially for the business. So it's helped me stay consistent, because I took like a whole summer off a couple years ago, and I've taken time off here, which hasn't helped the channel any, of course, because consistency I think is important, but still it's like I've been stuck in the same numbers for a long time, it seems like. So yes, it gets
try and get you out that rut, girl.
I feel like I just, it's like I need to get on some sort of weird algorithm, whatever you call it, that like puts it out there to more people. And it's just, I just can't crack that code, because I feel like a lot of it is luck in that sense, because again, there's so many channels that are very, very similar to mine that do the same thing, that just have the bigger numbers. And I just like, what am I missing? I'm missing something. Something's missing. So trying to figure that out.
We'll get you sorted.
Okay.
Has the way you've worked changed from when you first began hand dyeing?
So, I mean, it's not even been a year, but yes, for sure. As of this year, 2021, I told myself, okay, I gotta be more consistent because, I'm trying to build and grow. And in order to do that, I have to keep putting out product. I can't, take them. I mean, I can take time off, obviously, if I need to, but like when I started, I did an update, like my first update, and then I did another one, and then I didn't do one for a couple months, and then I did one again, and then I didn't do one again. And, so I feel like consistency, again, is very key. So I want to definitely try to stay monthly with something. Doesn't need to be a ton. I don't have to crank out 100 skeins a month, but at least something new.
Yes, you do. Next question, which you've almost completely answered, but we'll possibly go into a little bit more detail now. Have you ever given up, thrown your hands in the air and said, no, I'm done, forget it, only to start again at a later date? And again, that can be your YouTube or your hand dyeing.
Well, definitely not the dyeing, since it's been new, so I haven't crossed that bridge yet. As far as, I might have skipped an update or skipped a month here and there, but that wasn't me giving up. And I'm in it here. I like for the dyeing, I feel like I'm definitely like, I got to give it a couple years and see where it is. And if in a couple years I still don't see enough growth or profit or whatever, then at least I gave it a fair try. Because the business takes a few years to grow. It doesn't happen overnight usually, unless you're lucky. I've seen that happen too, which is frustrating. But anyways, my YouTube channel, I've thrown in the towel.
Looking at other people, Andrea.
I know.
Stop it.
I got problems. Tell me. My YouTube channel, I'm never doing this again. This is stupid. I'm not doing this anymore. And then I come back because I do like it, and I do it. And I always come back. But I've thrown in the towel with that thing so many times, so I can't even count how many times I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done, only to come back. And it might be a couple months later, but I've always come back.
With the tail between the legs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you research trends or materials for your hand dyeing?
No, and I probably should, but I don't want to. That's just more work. I just want to do what I like to do. But if I see,
what I'm going to say at the end, you really are.
I'm on Instagram, so I see what's going on, and I see what other dyers are doing, and et cetera, et cetera. And I try to sort of keep myself in line, but at the end of the day, I just want to dye what I like to dye, and I'll try to theme with holidays and whatever, maybe, but I don't know if I'm going to keep up with that either. Again, but obviously in the summertime, I'll do more summery colors, and in the winter and fall, I do more fall colors. So, as far as any other trends, I did a sample on a new base. So this is a trend that I'm probably way behind on, but holding mohair.
Hang on. I'm bringing you up. Hang on. There you go. Look at the fuzz.
Yeah. So if you hold the mohair with the fingering weight, you make some really nice product. So a lot of people offer this as a base, and I've just been very limited at bases, mainly because I'm new and I don't want to overdo it. So I already have four different bases. So I'm doing a sample. So this is a sample that I will do to see if I like it, because I do like it. It's super soft. But we'll see if I like how it knits up, and if something I want to add to the shop, because that's a trend, the mohair thing. But then, am I too late? Is it fading out? I don't know. I still feel like it's still a thing. So
it's a thing. It's a thing.
And it's a nice thing. I really do like it.
It's a lovely fuzzy thing. It's a thing. How do you prioritize your work?
I'm really bad at scheduling, but now, so my kids have been in and out of school, it's nobody's business because of the pandemic. So, they were home for a while, they were back for 2 seconds, they were home for a while, they were back half-time. Now they're back again full-time, which has been very helpful. So now I can actually start to sort of prioritize, okay, but I don't still have a schedule. I need to have okay, Tuesdays are dye days or something. Or I do try to do shop updates around the 20th of the month. So that seems to have been consistent so far. But as far as like any sort of weird, any sort of actual schedule, I don't have one. And that's sort of good too, because again, I'm kind of just doing things on my own time when I have the time. So.
And now I'm thinking, a minute ago she was saying about consistency, and she needs more consistency. And now
well, I do. Like, I need it, but I mean, it doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Just because I need it doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
This is true. This is true. Give an example of when you thought outside of the box.
I don't know if I can answer that one. I mean, I feel like I haven't really ventured too far outside the box when it comes to dyeing, because I'm still feeling my way through things, and I haven't gotten super adventurous as far as, I guess one time I did that, it was a failure, sort of. I hand dyed a sock blank. So it's a pre-knit piece of fabric. It's blank, so it's white. And then you put the color on it. And typically people will hand paint it. So they'll lay it out on a table and then they'll put the color on it. And then you'll wrap it up in plastic wrap and put it in a microwave or an oven. Well, I don't have a microwave and oven, so I'm like, I'm just gonna steam it in my pan. I'm gonna like prop it up somehow, and I'll put some water in the bottom of my big giant pan. I'm gonna steam it in there. And I did, and it fell off and I burned it. Only one of them though. One of them turned out okay. The other one, I burned a little hole in it. So I kept that one for myself. It's still usable. I'm still gonna knit it, but I couldn't sell it because it now had a hole in it.
Well,
I unraveled the whole thing.
A holy product.
So, but I try to think outside of the box in terms of how to steam that, and I can do it better next time. It still will work. The concept I have will still work. I just need an actual steaming rack to stick in my pan and not just like propping it up on tinfoil. That didn't work. So.
Hey, trying new things is a new way to discover new things. So
yeah.
You got to give it a go. What? Oh, I'm going to make you big for this.
Oh no!
It's one of those again. It's very similar to the previous one. Why should any of us come watch and subscribe to you?
Because I'm fun and I'm awesome. I mean, I'm certainly not unique, but again, I tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat things. I just like to have a good time. I share a lot of projects when I have them. I'm diverse, I guess, when it comes to what I have to share. I'm always sharing new yarn. I'm sharing new knit projects, crochet projects, and you never know what I'm going to share next because it's always like a random craft of the day, I guess, whatever floats my fancy. But I have fun. That's kind of
that's the key.
It is. I mean, that's why do it if it's not fun? So unless it's paying your bills, but.
Yeah. Let's not bring that into it. Talking hand dyeing, Andrea, hand dyeing. What are your can't live without it craft room essentials?
Well, so for the dyeing area, my prized possession is my spin dryer. So, and it's not made for yarn, but it works. It's supposed to be. It's this like little portable dryer that, if you live in an apartment or something small, you can spin out the water in your clothes and then hang them to dry, and they'll dry really fast. Well, put yarn in there, spin it to dry, and it's practically dry, and you put it on the rack. So like if I had to put my yarn on the rack and it was soaking wet and I just kind of wrung out the water gently, it would take days to dry. So once I put in the spin dryer, it's practically dry, and so it'll dry overnight.
See, now that's surprising. This is something weird. A couple of days ago, I was thinking about a spin dryer and how handy that would be. So for you to bring it up is really weird.
It's really cool.
Years.
And then it wasn't cheap, but that was the first. And actually, it was my Mother's Day present from my husband. That's what he's like. What do you want for Mother's Day? I said, I want a spin dryer. So.
I mean, this is going off the laminate here with me saying this, but you brought it up. With the spin dryer and putting the yarn in, doesn't that knot up the yarn?
No, because I mean, it's, you know, you lay it in there, of course, nicely, and the yarn has all these ties on it that keeps it. You can, when I pull it out, I got to pull it out and kind of floof it around, but it's totally fine.
Wow.
Now, when I've put sock blanks in there, sometimes the ends unravel a little bit, which I don't like. I'm not sure how to fix that from happening, but it doesn't ruin the product or nothing. I still, you know, I just pin up the ends a little bit, and that's fine.
What do you do to make your workspace an inspiring place to be?
It is not an inspiration. It is in my basement. It has got toys everywhere. It's got cat food and a litter box, and it is.
The litter box is my inspiration today.
Yeah, it is not pleasant, but it is my space, and it works, and it's better than being in the kitchen or being outside, and I love it as it is. Well, okay, I won't say I love it as it is, but I love it right now. It works. I have a little table set up with my burners. I have a shelf with my pans and my dyes on there. Unfortunately, my sink is on the opposite side of the basement, so I have to like carry buckets of water back and forth. But you know what? It works. So. But
you get time to yourself, and it's your space.
Yes, as long as ideally, I would like the Hot Wheels to be cleaned up, because there is a track with like loop-de-loos going on, like right in the way.
But, oh dear. Oh dear.
And yesterday there was a spider down there, which was kind of crazy.
Next question. Where do you look for inspiration? And please don't say the cat litter tray.
No. Usually nature, of course. Anything that's got fun colors. Anywhere. So right now I keep looking at. Oh, I got some echo. Anyways, where's that coming from?
You've had echo all along. It's just every now and again it just peaks. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay. Well, maybe if I turn down myself. There we go. Or not turn down too much. Okay, sorry. Anyways, so right now I keep looking at this Kleenex box in my bathroom, because it's got a pretty like gradient, like almost like a beach colors. So I keep thinking I should dye a yarn that looks like that. And my husband bought me flowers, and it's like they were real pretty colors together. And I'm like, I should dye a yarn that looks like that. So I mean, I really just anything I look at almost can be an inspiration sometimes. So
I like the fact that it's something so simple right now as the Kleenex box, and I actually think
it's really pretty. I keep looking at that. I really need to dye that yarn of the Kleenex box, which is ridiculous, but.
And then you could actually call the yarn Kleenex.
I thought about it too.
I love it. I love it. When do you feel the most creative? When's the time where it's usually, oh yeah, mum's in a creative mode? Is it normally a morning? Is it in the evening? Is it when you've got back from somewhere? Is it when you're feeling your most down? When is it?
Not in the morning. Tell you that. I am not a morning person. Probably at night, and it's always at a time where I maybe I'm laying in bed, so I'm not like actively able to write things down. So it's always when I can't or if I'm in the car. It's always somewhere where I just can't easily write it down. So I have to really try to remember it by the morning so that I can write it down. Or yeah, so it's just always random, but probably evenings or in the car. I guess usually when I'm by myself.
Alone time. When I've got 5 minutes peace, inspiration hits me. On the other side of the coin, how do you combat your creative blocks?
No, that's tricky. Like right now, I feel like I am in a little bit of a slump. So as far as new colors, I'm really just trying to come up with sets. So I'm looking at what I have already and trying to play off those and make some colors that will go with it. So the berry color, the raspberry color is supposed to be able to go with this one. And I am in the process of coming up with maybe one more color to make it like a 3 skein set. And I don't know if I'm going to market it as a set, but I will encourage it as a set, because I don't necessarily want people to be forced into buying 3. if they really just like the middle one. But I'd like to be able to have that option of like, and I've done it before where I've kind of bundled a couple together and then left some available as is. But like if I was thinking maybe like a brown color that plays off what was in this one to go together. So that's sort of how I combat the
very triptych.
Yes, and because there's a lot of projects, like this one back here took 3 colors. So there's a lot of 3-color projects. There's a lot of 2 colors. That one's a 2-color. Oh, you can't really see that. The yellow and the green. This one's a 2-color project. So I mean, people like to be able to not have to think about choosing their colors, which I agree. I don't like necessarily. If I find a really nice pattern that's a couple colors, I kind of like having kits that just pick it out for me. Because sometimes when I try to like stash dive and pick my own colors, I don't ever have 2 in my stash that will work. So if I have those options available, and then not necessarily selling them like you have to buy the 3, but having that as an option, I like that.
Yeah, it's helping others to decide.
I feel like these 2 work together too. So I don't know. And even like if I put a brown in that one, I think those 3 would look good. And then so you'd have just options. I like options.
Me too. I get told off for giving people too many options, but I don't care. I want options. I give people options.
Yeah, I have a problem with that too, with like wanting to offer too many options, and then everyone's got to tell me you got to rein it back. That's too many.
What is your number 1 hand dyeing tip, or the best hand dyeing tip you've actually been given yourself?
Protective gear. I know that's boring, but boy, the particles are just not good for you to breathe in. So anytime you're handling dry yarn, you should have the mask on. And you don't have to buy the big giant mask. They have others, but it has to be a very specific mask. And I can't tell you exactly what that is, but you could look that up easily and get a simple mask. That and just have fun. I mean, really, like the point of it is to be fun and be expressive and, you know, just play with colors. I mean, it's just, like I said earlier, it's really hard to screw something up because if you don't like it, so like I liked this, but at first I didn't, but I do now. But if I didn't, you know what? You just plop it in a bath of purple or something and it's a whole new yarn and then it's fine. I've done it before. So yay. I've done it before, not with anything I've actually dyed, but with something somebody sent me. That taboo, but it was terrible, so I overdyed it. So.
Right, we have one more question from me, and then we're at the end of this segment. But I'm going to let you choose the question.
Okay.
In a roundabout kind of way.
Okay.
So you can pick a number from 35 to 71.
62.
Oh, this is good for your channel. This is good. I'm going to make you a solo. Woo. Okay. What are your other interests other than the hand dyeing?
Knitting, crochet, beads, spinning, hair extensions. Any sort of craft things, lots of crafty things. I've done a lot of perler bead projects in the past. I haven't done that in a while, but those are always fun. And once I get in that mood where I want to make perler bead projects, I do that. Which I've turned them into hair clips. I really want to do some more beaded stuff. I did some, I did a crochet beaded ring that was really pretty. That was inspired by my great grandmother. And so I found a pattern for a beaded crochet bracelet that I'd like to make to match those. I made like a little beaded necklace. I would love to like have a 3D printer and do that stuff. And like, I would do anything. I would like laser printer, like those wood engraving things. I don't know. I want to craft all the things. And I talk about that on my channel, of course. And I talk about anything else that comes up. So I talk about my life. I talk about beauty stuff that if it so happens to come up, I am certainly not a beauty expert at all, but.
If it's crafting, you get your mitts into it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well done. Right. We are now at the end of my portion of the interview. So now let's turn to the questions from our live supporters. We have a maximum of 15 minutes. So if you still got questions, you better get them in now, because as soon as I've finished what I've got saved here, too late. You're just going to have to go over to her channel and ask her yourself. Okay, Andrea. First question comes from Dit Minitary. Is there a craft you haven't tried yet that you're thinking about trying right now?
That's a good one. Trying to think. There's just so many things I want to try, but like I mentioned before, I'd like to do 3D printing stuff, but the budget, again, money is an issue for that. So I don't have a 3D printer. I can't do that stuff, but it would be fun to make like stitch markers and stuff. The resin, that is something that I have a resin kit upstairs, and you can make the little pendants or whatever. So that is on my agenda. I don't know when I will pull that out, but I really want to make some little resin things. I don't know why.
Resin things.
Like necklaces, or I think I have a mold shape and the resin kit, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
You got to get going. Get those chemicals, get mixing, make that resin. Right. Next question. And please don't kill me if I say your name wrong. I'm so sorry. Next question comes from Shay McIntosh Ford. Did I say it right, or did I?
You did. I'm pretty sure you did. Yeah.
Okay, fingers crossed. Shay says, will you be bringing back seasonal colorways like the October graffiti?
Maybe. That's one of the colors that I loved, but at the same time I hated dyeing it because it took a lot of work. That's this one here. And I still have some of these. This is DK weight. I still have these in the shop. I have 3 skeins of this in the shop. But yes, I would consider it, because it's a really lovely color, but it just was such a pain to dye.
Bottom, yes. Bottom. Yes. Okay. Let me make you teeny again. Let me make you teeny. There you go. Next question comes from Barbara Riggle Baker. Have you used things like flowers, vegetables, or other natural things to dye with?
That I have not, and I don't know if that's something that ever would really interest me. I mean, it's interesting concept. I feel like the act of just collecting all the stuff could be challenging, but could be fun. I don't feel like I have access to a lot of that stuff, but I know people use like avocado pits and peels, which I could easily get, or walnuts. But it's a whole separate, you need different, what they're called, mordants, which set the dye. So I use citric acid for the acid dye, but the natural dyes are a whole other beast. So maybe after I really get my handle on the acid dyeing and what I'm doing with my shop, I would consider that. But at this point, it's really not on my radar.
Okay. Next question comes from Tamara B. And she says, do you write down your dye recipes first or as you make them?
Both. So sometimes I write it down after I do it. So I kind of on the fly, I'm figuring out what colors I want, and then I'll write it down afterwards, hopefully. Sometime I've been oh no, I don't remember. But for this one, this was festival, I actually planned out, maybe not the quantities of dye at least, but I planned out exactly what colors I wanted and where I wanted to place the colors. And then while I was mixing the dye, I kind of decided the intensity I wanted and then wrote it down. So I had, I showed my book, so I have those in there, but sometimes I write them out first in a notebook as I'm in the basement, I'm jotting down as I'm doing things, and then later I will translate it into the book. So
I'll translate it.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't write down everything, and I'm oh, what did I do? And I try to have to well, I think this is close enough. So I mean, again, so if I was to recreate it, hopefully I would be able to, but it would be similar, but maybe not exact. But again, that's the whole beauty of the hand-dyed yarn.
Very true, very true. Barbara Baker has a 2-part question for you. Have you ever made a colour and decided that it had nothing good about it?
Not yet. And I'm not saying that won't happen, but so far, even the ones that I didn't like in the pan, after they dried, they grew on me. So,
what, literally? You had to cut them off?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. You know, I know nothing about hand dyeing. It might be a thing. I don't know. In that case, I won't ask the second part, because the second part was if you said yes all the time or something. So, next question comes from Karen Y. Aside from selling online, are your yarns in any local yarn shops?
They are not yet. And I don't know. That's another tricky beast, because that involves like contracts and things with yarn shops. And obviously you sell to the yarn shop at a discount, and then they upsell it at whatever price they want. Or I don't know if you give them a price, like your price, or how that exactly works. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Would I like to? Sure, I think. But again, like, you know, if you could sell it more on your own personal site or shows, you're getting that full price for it. And if I'm selling it to a yarn shop, I'm taking the, you know, I'm selling it at a discount to them. So I mean, it's like, but you know, it gets my name out there, it gets the product in more places. So I mean, it's one of those, like, some people think it's great, a lot of people think it's not great. So like, it really depends. So, but I'd like to do like trunk shows, which are kind of an in-between. So you still give the yarn store a cut, but not as high of a cut percentage, because they're hosting you in their shop and they're not doing as much work, but they're taking the money and then they pay you, you know, a certain percentage. And but again, it gets it into the local stores and way to kind of promote. And I did ask a local store if they were interested, and they never responded. So I don't know.
Well, more for them.
Yeah.
Right. Last question that has come through comes from Brenda, the newbie crocheter. Have you, or are you willing to dye cotton?
I have not, and I don't know a lot about cotton. So am I willing to? Maybe. Sure. I mean, I'd have to, like, I guess get my hands on a sample and try it and see if I like it. And I guess I do send out a lot of polls, surveys to my newsletter subscribers, and Instagram followers on what kind of bases they want to see. Hence why I, you know, got a sample of the mohair. So cotton hasn't really come up, but again, it wouldn't be, I'm always willing to introduce some new things if that's what people want. So it just depends on.
Get cotton in that shop, girl. Cotton is so popular.
I personally don't knit with cotton, so like it's totally just, it's never been on my list, because besides sugar and cream, which is terrible cotton. No offense. I mean, it's good for washcloths.
Then but make a better one.
Well, I feel like I've never even had any projects that I'm like, I need to make this out of cotton. So it's just never come up.
Hey, more natural the better. A lot of people come flocking for cotton. Right, Andrea, our time is now up.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to thank not only you, but everyone that has joined us at this time, and for all the questions that have come through and the compliments, which will be told to Andrea in a moment, away from you guys, but they will be told, don't worry. Also, a thank you to those watching the replay, whether that be on my channel or over on Andrea's channel, the Cat Lady Podcast. Sorry, CATT Lady Podcast. Whichever, I thank you very much for watching. Andrea, please stay where you are. And to everyone else, thank you very much for joining us. And I hope to see you next Spotlight. But for now, take care. And thank you very much. See you later. Bye-bye.